Very much for welcoming me here. I think part of what I'm here today is perhaps dispel some myths about TripAdvisor, to talk about how you can use TripAdvisor to promote your business and to gain business, and also just to point out that TripAdvisor is a great leveller. It doesn't matter how much marketing budget you have, it doesn't matter how much you've got to spend, it matters. You can count as much as any of the big hotels. Any small property can have as much a chance of getting great exposure through TripAdvisor. So obviously I talk to a lot of properties and hoteliers and associations through my job, and I guess some people love TripAdvisor. They see it as a great business generator, but I also know that some people aren't so keen on TripAdvisor. So I'm used to sort of that reaction. But hopefully after you've heard me speak, I can give you some more food for thought to maybe realise that there are more. TripAdvisor is just not a one-way street. You don't have to sit back and watch it. You can get involved in TripAdvisor, take part in the reviews and have a right of reply within TripAdvisor, and it can work for your business. So, is this working? Yeah, sorry. It's a very messy slide, and I'm probably preaching to the converted, but the bottom line is, if you can read this, which I'm sure you probably can't, in the UK, only 5% of people don't touch the internet at any point during their booking, whether they're looking for a destination, whether they're researching, whether they're actually making a hotel booking, or they're sharing their experience. So literally 5% don't go near the internet at any point during that. So the internet's here to stay. People are talking about you, and it's not just on TripAdvisor, it's on Twitter, it's on Facebook. People are liking, and it's happening. It's the way life is. The other thing to say is user-generated reviews, travel reviews, are hugely influential. This is a survey by Focusrite, and they're saying that reviews on travel review sites, which TripAdvisor's one, it's not the only one, but it's the largest one, and online travel agents such as Bookings, Expedia, sites like that, those reviews are hugely influential. I think it's something like 70-something% of people say that it plays its influential factor in where they stay, either to reinforce and back up their decision, or when they don't know where to stay to make a choice. So TripAdvisor, we have 40 million unique users a month. That is 5 million unique users a day visiting our site. It's obviously the world's largest travel website. To put it in perspective, we're bigger than Expedia, Booking, Yahoo, Priceline. We are literally the largest travel website. The other thing to say about TripAdvisor, though, is we don't take any bookings. We're purely an informational website. People don't make a booking. We pass people to other routes, to other sources, to our partners, or direct to properties to make bookings. We're just part of that influential factor of where people come for information. The global traffic breakdown of TripAdvisor, we have 40 million unique users, but considering the perception that we're a heavily US-dominated site, we actually have more unique users in Europe than we do from the rest of from our sort of parent American region. We have 17 million unique users a month in Europe, and when you look at where they come from, that's over 4.5 million within the UK alone, and obviously from the other regions in Europe. And the one thing to say is, even if depends on your business mix, you might not be that interested in international business, because that's one thing TripAdvisor gives you, is global exposure. Because if you're listed on TripAdvisor, you're visible to everyone who looks at TripAdvisor, who's looking at your destination, regardless of where they live. But also, we have a lot of domestic travel as well, domestic traffic. So people within the UK looking for, within the UK for destinations and where to stay. In fact, we're working with Visit Britain as well now recently. We've just launched a partnership to load an awful lot more information about Britain to enhance sort of for people to when they're looking at destination research, which is the first part of the booking process. TripAdvisor was launched 10 years ago. This is apparently, I can't vouch for it myself, but this is apparently the photo of the first review, the picture of the first review, which was posted in 2001. TripAdvisor was the first travel website that focused on user-generated content, and that is pretty much the core of what TripAdvisor does. It's all about the user-generated content. We have other content, we have the forums, we have the blogs, but it's all about user-generated content. And I think, as Jonathan was saying, that if people didn't believe or didn't want to use the TripAdvisor information, we wouldn't have a business. That's what our business is all about and really revolves around. User-generated content doesn't just touch travel. It is a way of life now. It's a way people are shopping online. everyone is spending their hard-earned cash and they want reassurance that they're spending it in the right place, or they're making the right decision, or they just want to sort of reassurance. So I think it's becoming a sort of way of life now for anyone. So these are just some examples, just to show you that it really is touching everything. Rate my plastic surgeon. Rate my public convenience. This is an app you can get called SOS, really useful if you've got kids out and about. So people rating public toilets, where it's useful to go or not. Rate my teacher. So there's no profession that's safe now. And the one everyone uses is Amazon. Does anyone buy anything on Amazon and not look at the reviews, be it for a record, a book, a Hoover, it's just the way people are shopping. The one good thing about user-generated reviews, it's taken the focus off price. Before, internet shopping was all about finding the lowest price. Now it's a combination of factors. It's not just about price, it's about price and experience. And if something's got a great experience reviews, people might be willing to spend a bit more for it. So I think it is a good thing, actually, that it's added another dimension to travel search. So back to TripAdvisor, some more figures just to show that sort of, I guess, how big we are. 40 million unique visitors a month, of which we have 20 million registered users. Now, a person has to register on TripAdvisor before they can post any content. So obviously we do know who the people who are posting information with us. We have 45 million pieces of information on our site, which are posted at a rate of 23 new pieces of information a minute. It's a huge amount of content. So that might be forums, blogs, videos, photos, reviews. It's 23 pieces a minute. The one thing to say, we have a hugely popular forums. It's not just about the reviews, we have forums. And generally, if somebody posts a question in a forum, they get at least one response in 24 hours. But if you're interested in marking a destination or what people are talking about your destination, I'd recommend you look in the forums for your particular area. Because it's just a great source of information to find what people are looking for, what people are asking questions about, and what people are responding, just to sort of see what the general buzz is about what's happening, say, in Windermere, and sort of what people are sort of recommending to do and things. So it's a really useful source of information. We have over 1 million properties on TripAdvisor. They're not just hotels and restaurants. So there's sort of, when we say hotels here, 474,000 hotels, that also includes that sort of, I'm afraid I'm a hotelier historically, so I talk hoteliers, but hotels, but that also includes all serviced accommodation. So that's bed and breakfasts, included as well. So I apologise if I keep talking about hotels. I mean wider than that. I mean serviced accommodation. It's just sort of what I get used to talking about. 135,000 attractions and 675,000 restaurants. So really that's the focus of TripAdvisor's business, is the travel vertical. The one thing we don't do particularly well, and I'll put my hands up and say, is vacation rentals, holiday rental properties. We have sister sites that look after that more. So it's really about serviced accommodation and the restaurants and attractions. We operate in 29 countries. And we have 23 languages. I think Malaysian was the last one launched, but we're sort of pretty much launching a site in a different language every couple of months. We have Russian, we have Korean, we have pretty much sort of most of the core languages, and we're going to be launching an Arabic one quite soon. And we have 245,000 registered owners. Now, in the room here, who is a registered owner who's registered in the Owner Centre in TripAdvisor? A fair proportion then, fair proportion. So hopefully I'm preaching to a lot of what I'm talking about you already know about and you already use. But hopefully I'm also going to give you some additional pointers of things that we have in our free tools and how to use them better. Actually, I should ask, who, as well as that, who uses TripAdvisor for their own travel? Actually, it looks like there's more registered owners than people who use TripAdvisor for travel. That's an interesting balance. It's normally the other way. So again, it's useful to have that in the back of your mind when you're talking about TripAdvisor, because you've got to have the context about how people use TripAdvisor. Because the one thing about TripAdvisor is, I know we're saying that if you get a bad review, it's really hurtful, and I understand, because often it's your own business. You live in the business, you live and breathe the business. You're there 24 hours a day, but from a traveller's perspective, if you've got 15 great reviews and one bad review, the 15 great reviews count so much more. The bad review is just looked in context within the scope of things. And people tend to, depending on the range of reviews, but if you've got one great one bad one, they sort of, in people's minds, they sort of discard that and look at the consistent theme of the reviews. So if you've got 14 all saying 4, they'll believe that, regardless if you've got 1 5 and 1 1. So you just got to look at how people are using, and there's sort of built-in cynicism with the people, how they read TripAdvisor reviews. So that you sort of I know it's hard when it's a bad review against you, but you just got to think about it from the user's perspective, and it's sort of a balance between the overall grades of your reviews. The other thing to say is TripAdvisor's mobile. We have 5 million unique users on our mobile website, which is the biggest mobile travel website as well. And this is great for people on the when they're in the location. So if you have a restaurant or something like that, that's more about people sort of looking for things to do when they're in the vicinity. Leisure travellers tend to book further in advance, but again, this is great for business travellers because they tend to be sort of booking quite short term. So again, it depends on your balance of business if that would be actively driving much to you. But TripAdvisor, let's sort of like the elephant in the room, I guess, is reviews on TripAdvisor before we go any further. But the overall perception is that you hear all the publicity about the bad reviews, but the reality is more reviews are positive than negative. In fact, 72% of reviews on TripAdvisor are a 4 or a 5. More people are sharing positive experiences than negative experiences. And I think we'd all be naive to say that every stay would be a brilliant stay and every stay is perfect. Of course, there's going to be some stays for various reasons that aren't. But people are more likely to share positive experiences. Why do people write reviews? Does anyone in the room write reviews? A couple of people. So I won't ask you why you do it, but there are various reasons why people write reviews. Some people just want to give back because they've read reviews and want to give more information back, so to sort of put back into the community, as it were. Some people want to seem big and important and clever and knowledgeable. Some sites give recognition, so the more reviews you get, the more privileges you get in a site. That's not the case with TripAdvisor. But often it's just because people have got something to say. And look, it's more often good than bad. So the other thing to say about TripAdvisor reviews, they don't just live on the TripAdvisor website. They are distributed through many, many other sites, be it Visit Scotland, Travel Supermarket, Visit London, British Airways, all sorts of sites. So if your property is featured on any of these, often it's an opt-in, so you'd have volunteered to have the TripAdvisor ratings. But all these sites recognise the fact that user-generated reviews are influential in the booking path and that people want to look at user-generated reviews. So what they're doing is they're putting the reviews in their own site to keep people within their own site, to stop them disappearing and then get sucked into some other booking path. So people are using user-generated reviews to give people the information they want during the booking path. So I think that's just another thing, just we have the huge amount of visitors and traffic, but obviously it comes from all other websites as well. So the Owner Centre, as I've sort of established, a fair few of you already registered, so hopefully I'm going to give you some new news. Obviously, if you haven't registered in the Owner Centre, it's free, it takes 2 minutes. You go to tripadvisor.co.uk/owners, or the other way to find it is if you go to your own property page on TripAdvisor, if you scroll to the bottom of that page, there'll be some link that says something like, "Are you the owner? Start here." Now, you don't have to be the owner of a property, but you have to be responsible for marketing and promoting that property. So the Owner Centre is sort of a bit of not a brilliant name because that could be a bit off-putting, but it just means that you're responsible for promoting that property. Within the Owner Centre, we have all these free tools, so you could update your details, promote your business, track your performance, get more reviews and manage your listings. So I'm going to go through each of these and explain the tools and how you can get more from it. So this is a standard TripAdvisor page. I've chosen a completely different area because it's always a bit dangerous when you pull up a page of reviews in front of an audience. So I don't think anyone's going to be here from the Empire, Llandudno, so I'm hopefully safe. So this is a pretty standard page, as you can see. It's number 11 of 70 hotels in Llandudno. Now, there's no secret. There is an algorithm that sits behind how this is the position is worked. And I don't know the secret of the algorithm. It's probably like Google. The engineers know the details, and they won't share it. But the one thing I can say is the number of reviews you have, the recency of the reviews, and the score of the reviews all play a part in that algorithm. So the more recent reviews with good scores means that will influence that. But the one thing to say also, it's relative to the other properties in your destination. So in a very competitive area such as Windermere, I guess, there's a bit of juggling at the top. I don't know, but it's all relative to the number of reviews and the score of the reviews that are coming in from your local competition. So this property has 130 reviews. The average number of reviews for a property on TripAdvisor is actually 32. So this property is doing very well. But one thing we would encourage every property is to ask for reviews, because often people need prompting. You know, they say, oh, I'm going to give you a room, and I'll get home, and then they don't remember, they get sidetracked. So within our owner centre, we give lots of tools to help people generate reviews. So you can ask for cards, little cards. You can have a stand, desk stand. There's links that you can embed in your emails. There's little widget bits of code that you can put on your website. Because as I said, the more reviews you have on TripAdvisor, the better. Because as I said, the recency and the score and the sort of more recent ones and the frequency of them has an impact on that algorithm and has an impact on your placement. So obviously make sure you're sort of actively asking for reviews. So the one thing within the owner centre that people may or may not know about is you can opt in to get the reviews emailed to you. You don't have to keep coming to TripAdvisor and seeing what's been said. Within the owner centre, you can sign into it's in the Manage Your Listing tab under Most Popular Owners Tools. Just subscribe, and we will send the review to you as it's published. So at that, you get it sort of as fresh as it can be, and then you can make a decision whether you're going to act on it, share it to your team, celebrate, or do something about it. Within that email, there's all the links you need as well. The link to do a management response, the link to report the review, the link, all that sort of information. So the one thing, if nothing else, I'd make sure you subscribe if you haven't already to get these reviews sent to you. So it gives you the information straight away. So the other thing to say is we have in the property details area, which is on the right hand side, this area is for you to populate. There's a text limit, but it's for a property owner to update through the owner centre. It can be updated as often as you want. It's your chance to market your property. This property is talking about how historic it is, but it's another place to say if you've got events on, or if you've had a refurbishment, or there's a special, menu, or anything you can use. You can put in that information there. And the other thing is in the update property section, you can make sure you've got the right amenities listed as well. So have you got the icon to say you've got parking and Wi-Fi and all those other things? Make sure all the information on the site is correct, so everyone sees your property in the right light, in the best view. So the other thing to say is photos. This has 19 photos. But the magic number for photos is 21. If a property has more than 21 photos, a traveller will stay on that page for 150% more time because they spend the time going through photos. Don't ask me why it's 21, but it's an easy to remember number. And as an owner, you can upload as many photos as you want through the owner centre. So it's your chance to show your property in the right light, in the light you want it to be seen. Photos will be loaded and they will be clearly labelled as sort of owner's photos, but make sure you load as many photos as long as you've got the copyright. That's the only sort of limitation on that. If you've got the copyright and you own the photos, load them up. And the other thing you can load up is video, because again, people are becoming more and more visual, and sort of everyone's now looking, the U2 generation and things, people are getting used to looking at videos. So again, add videos. Again, this can all be done through the owner centre. And we have tools that you can choose. See this large photo there? You can choose which photo is that shows. So you can, you can make that your photo rather than a randomly generated photo. Again, through the owner centre, you can click make this my primary photo option. So again, you can make sure the best photos right at the front, the most visible photo. The other thing to say is on the mobile, the photos look usually pretty stunning as long as they're of decent enough quality, and it's a great opportunity to show off your property. Now, within the owner centre, we have this. We've teamed up with a company called Mediametrics, and they've taken our TripAdvisor ratings and come up with a customer service index score. Now, anyone who's written a review on TripAdvisor will know that it's not just about the overall score of 1 to 5. There's all the various constituent ratings that sit underneath that. So quality of slate, cleanliness, those sort of items. So what they've done is they've taken all those factors and make this into an overall score. So you can go in and see how your property is doing over time versus a competitor. Now, you can choose which competitor, obviously within your location, but a top tip is you can change your competitor quite frequently. So you could go back in and keep changing it so you can really see what everyone's doing. I mean, but everyone can see everyone, so it's all fair. And then you get an overall view of what's happening in your destination. And then underneath that, it'll give you the breakdown on the various constituent parts of a review. A lot of properties, if you haven't got a guest feedback system in place, which a lot of small properties don't have the time or the resource to do so, this can act as a sort of pseudo sort of feedback, and you can see, you can task your housekeeping and things on things like this. So I know certain, and this is the larger chains admittedly, but Sol Melier is a Spanish hotel chain, and they've now just given all their general managers a task that their property's got to have a 4 and above overall, and then they're cascading it down to housekeeping has to have a 4 and more, so you know, for the relevant scores. So people are using it now as an internal score. I mean, and I guess that the thing is not to be afraid of this, because if you've got a decent volume of reviews, it all averages itself out and you'll get an overall picture. It's only when you've got 2 or 3 reviews that there's the danger of sort of one review skewing it. But again, the more reviews you have, the better overall. So management responses. Now, first of all, before I talk about this, I want to just say another thing about reviews. TripAdvisor has a zero tolerance for fraud on its site. In fact, it's not only against TripAdvisor's rules, it's against the European Community's legal rules about putting fraudulent reviews. We have a whole team of people who spend lots of time looking at the reviews. So every review goes through our proprietary filters before it's published, and then we have a team of people that spot checks, and then any review can be reported either by a manager or by the travelling community who read them. And those reviews are looked at personally, and with the English language, the reviews are looked at and assessed within 48 hours of being reported. So it's something we take hugely seriously. And we do have we have a fraud team as well. And if we find that a property is doing things fraudulently, they get warning letters, and over a course of time, and then eventually after a series of warning letters, we will put what we call the red badge of shame up, which basically says TripAdvisor, warning, we don't think these reviews are 100% accurate, or words to that effect. And that has an overall effect of a TripAdvisor's ranking for a property. It has a serious impact. So it's something we do take seriously. It's something we don't offer the red badge of shame. We do go through a warning letter process, but it is something we're actively looking at all the time. So the one thing to say about management response is you've had a review and it's either hugely praiseworthy or the opposite end of the scale, it's not great. So what we say is take a deep breath, think about it before you write, and then thank the best and acknowledge the worst. A well-written response to a bad review can actually turn things around completely. Because if you've got 19 great reviews and there's the one bad one, but your management review gives a very adult, grown-up response to that, either acknowledging that something went wrong and the fact that you've taken action and it's not going to happen again, or just putting your point of the story across, because there is 2 sides to every story, then people take notice of those management reviews and it does balance it out. So a management response, this is an example of one. It sits right underneath the review, and I know several of you in the room do use management responses. So in the conversation, it's the last word in the conversation. The reviewer cannot come back and say another comment, so that the hotelier gets the last word here. So it's very important. So it's really influential. So the other thing that people ask me is, which reviews do I respond to? You know, everyone, some of them, none of them. It's a personal feeling about it. But my personal feeling is don't respond to every single one of them. Respond to the really good ones, respond to the bad ones, respond when you've got something to say. If you just keep saying words to the same effect over and over and over again, people will stop reading them, because you're saying thank you, or it's a very similar paragraph repeated, so it loses its impact. So use it judiciously, but definitely use it. And don't ignore the bad reviews. Use the management response, because you're not just writing to the person that wrote that review, you're writing to everyone who reads that review. And as I said, a well-worded review, the management response to a review, can change the whole perception. So, and it's also, using a management review can be a really good marketing tool for a property. So somebody says, oh, I've just had I stayed here and I had a great breakfast, and you can say, oh, I'm really glad you enjoyed our new breakfast in our newly refurbished restaurant. So you've put a few messages in there to reinforce the fact you've refurbished your property. So again, well-written reviews. So there are rules on how to write a management response. Needless to say, these weren't published. Sometimes we almost have to protect the owner from themselves on what we do or don't publish, because obviously people will have a perception from a hotelier based on these reviews. But these are real. People have sent these through. But you've got to remember, this is the impression that you're leaving a guest or a traveller reading these things. So the reviews are. Go to the owner centre, and there's the full terms and conditions. Family friendly, most important. Unique and independent. Original, professional, relevant to everyone who reads it. Respectful of privacy, non-commercial, standard email etiquette, so please don't use all 100% caps and that sort of thing. And using a valid email address. When we say non-commercial, we won't publish email addresses or web addresses within the management response, so I know that catches some people out. And also, please don't, when we say original, don't repeat the review, and reuse it, because that doesn't work. And the other thing I had the other day was somebody said, I can't get my review published, what's going wrong? And it turned out they were quoting the Beatles, some lines from a Beatles song. And that's not original content. And, it took me a while to explain that. But obviously just sort of, he was trying to make a point and he thought he was doing it very eloquently, and he probably was. But it has to be original content that, again, so you own the copyright of what we're publishing. So the other thing is, we have 40 million people looking at our reviews. And often they moderate the reviews themselves. So a traveller has an opportunity, and it doesn't show on this screenshot, but there is a report this review button under every review. So anyone, the hotel owner or a reader, can report a review. But also, a bad review can often prompt a lot more reviews from people who've stayed with you. So you often get reviews like this. It's great value, forget the negatives, we loved it. And so often you can see if there's a couple of bad ones, then there'll be a spurry of good ones coming afterwards saying that was not my experience at all. So people are willing, often, I guess, what's people's psychology is the bad people are the quickest, and then the people with good reviews need a bit of a poke to get them to write. So it could be that the hotel owner has sent a reminder, as I said, to ask for reviews, or it could be they read a review they don't agree with and they want to put their side of the story. Either way, it creates a balance. So TripAdvisor obviously has a huge list of tools, but the other thing to say is, as I was saying about the large websites like Visit Scotland and things, who are using TripAdvisor reviews to keep people on their website, because we know people want to look at reviews and TripAdvisor is the biggest repository of those reviews. We give badges and widgets for you to put on your website so you can keep people on your website. So again, if you know people want to look at reviews, put them on your website so you keep people on the booking path. So they're all personalised. If you go into the owner's centre, you can just pick up the code and it's personalised to your property. And it'll be just from the Bravo to the I've got five blobs to actual snippets of reviews. And these are updated these are updated, so once they're in, you don't have to worry about it. And I know some people are a bit scared, especially of the ones that include the snippets of reviews. What about putting a bad review? That you run the risk if there's a bad review, it will show. However, I read somewhere that 80% of all retailers are now putting reviews on their websites because they know how influential they are. And they know ultimately, at the end of the time, if they're doing things right, it doesn't have a negative effect on sales. In fact, it can keep sales and be positive to sales. It's something to embrace. And if you're doing if your guests are having a great time in your property, this should work for you. So the other thing to say, and this is a really rubbish screenshot, I must say, we have a What's Nearby widget. So another thing is just to add some content and some flavour and some local context onto your site. So if you're, you can put this in and it will show on a map or a listing the nearest restaurants and so as a hotel, it would show the nearest restaurants and attractions to you. So it's non-competing businesses, but it also just means that when a traveller's coming to your website, they can have just a little bit more information to help them make the decision that you're the location to stay in. Again, keeping them on your website while they're in the booking path rather than leaving them to go to look for information from any other source. And again, it's a widget, you drop it in and it sort of looks after itself, and it all just runs off Google Maps. So the other thing to talk about, and I know there's some people in the room here who have a business listing. Business listing is that everything I've talked about up to this point is free. You know, if you haven't registered in the Owner Centre, register. If you haven't signed up for the email to get the alerts, get the email, use the management responses, all of that is free. The next bit there is a charge for, so just to be completely above board. So I am biased because I had a very good night's stay here last night. So this is a business listing, it's this area here. So you can put direct contact details. There's 3 points of contact. You can choose whether it's email, web, phone, 2 web addresses, anything, and you can post a special offer. So when you click on the special offer, it gives you a pop-up like this. And it just means that you can, because everyone's looking for a bargain, as we know, so it just means that it gives someone another reason to consider your property. So also, the other thing to say about business listings is special offers. So this is Lake District, so the overall region. And these are 3 special offers. Now, I think one's a Windermere, one's a Keswick, and Grasmere. I'm not quite sure. You'll probably know much better than me. But these 3 rotate. So any property that has a business listing with a special offer will get exposure, but not just on their own destination, at the higher levels of destination as well. So it means that if somebody's looking at the Lake District and they haven't decided where to stay within the Lake District, this could be something that will make them drill down and look at your property. So it gives you much higher exposure on TripAdvisor, because otherwise normally people have to drill down and actually see your page having gone through all the searches. This just means it surfaces you higher up in the search. And the other thing to say is we have this deals and offer tab, and this is the Windermere one, and it just shows up any property with a special offer, and then it also gives the direct contact details here as well. So the paid for bit is the business listing, which is the special offer and the direct contact details, which means that you get direct traffic to your website or direct phone numbers, and you get direct booking. So this is an annual fee or a monthly fee, one-off, it's a fixed fee. So it doesn't matter how many bookings you get, it's paid for. The one thing we do is if you do buy this, we encourage you to track it. Ask on the phone, where did you find us? Because there's a money back guarantee. If you bought it for a year and after 6 months you decide it doesn't work and you want to cancel, we will give you 6 months money back, or however much pro rata back. So it's risk-free, but we do ask that you track it to know if it works or not. And we'd ask you give it sort of a couple of months just to see how things go. So the other thing just to say about special offers is people can be really creative with special offers, sometimes too creative. I've had a hotel in Iceland offer a free hug. I've had a hotel offer a free lick from their dog. I'm not sure how attractive that one was. Also, the one thing you've got to do is you've got to make sure that special offers are attractive to travellers coming from globally or domestically, but they're attractive from people outside your region. There was a fantastic one from an American hotel that was a $99 a night hotel, and it said free dinner with the president. And you go, wow, didn't know Obama would go to this place in Midwest somewhere. And it turned out it was free dinner with the president of the fishing club. Now, very good local marketing, perhaps, but not perhaps so relevant for a global platform like TripAdvisor. So special offers can be hugely influential. But the other thing to say as well is if you put a special offer on, make sure everyone knows about it. So when people phone up and you go, I want the special offer, and they go, what? You know, you've lost the sale. So, you know, it's got to be used with a complete through so everyone knows about it. Or when you click on the link to the website, it's obvious that they're not going to have to hunt around for it. So special offers can really make a difference and really attract business. So the other thing to say about business listings, it's on the mobile with click to call. We have a huge number of testimonials which I'm happy to share if anyone wants more information. So TripAdvisor is here. People are talking about you, whether it's on TripAdvisor, whether it's on Twitter, whether it's on Facebook. People are liking people. Stephen Fries goes to the opening of the Savoy and says, "I'm so grateful I'm here." So what a personal recommendation. It's those sort of people are putting things on walls. So what's it, 500,000 people on Facebook, 175 million on Twitter. People are talking, and obviously 40 million a month on TripAdvisor. So it's just the way of life, and people are sharing information. So TripAdvisor in the UK is 17% of the market, the biggest website in the UK, but the 34% larger than Expedia, but we're still growing. We grew last year 32% year on year, and we're not expecting that to slow down anytime soon. So as I said, TripAdvisor's here. But we're only here because people want us to be here. Our business, if people didn't come to TripAdvisor to read the reviews, we have nothing else, because that's what ultimately generates the business. So we take it very seriously, our reviews, and that's what we're all about. So what does this mean? You can monitor what people are saying about you, so you can read the reviews, you can get the email of the reviews sent to you. You can engage, you write management responses, you can make sure that the information on the site is right for you. You can promote yourself by using descriptive text, so making sure you load all your photos to show your property in the best light. You can advertise by buying a business listing and promoting special offers. But at the end of the day, it's all about the experience in your property. TripAdvisor, rightly or wrongly, whatever you feel about it, reflects the experience that people are having. Look after your guests, ask the guests to give you reviews, and TripAdvisor will work for you overall. So the other thing is, obviously I'm here to prove there is a person. TripAdvisor is got people in it, as they say. That's not very good English, is it? But there are people in TripAdvisor, and I'm one of them. So that's part of what I'm doing, is obviously going out and trying to educate people and just show the best points. But the other, we do have people who answer the phone. These people are busy, I'm sure so you might not get through. And this phone number gets you through to customer service, or if you want more information about business listings, I think it's press 1 for customer. There's language options because it's a European answer centre, but it's press 1 for customer service, I think, and press 2 for business listings. They're based in, split between Oxford and London. So just to say, these people are here to help you, but they're not decision makers. But they will help and guide you. But the bottom line is, the owner centre is the first place for everything. Within the owner centre, there's all the forms you need to report if you've got a management change, to update your properties, to upload photos, to report anything or change anything. There's all the various forms within the owner centre. So I would recommend that you try there, and if you don't get any joy, or you're not happy, or you want to talk to someone, follow up with a phone call, because chances are, if you haven't gone through the owner centre first, the first thing that people on the phone will say is, "Have you gone through the owner centre?" So it just means that also when it goes to the owner centre, we have a fully trackable system. And then when you phone in, the people can look it up in the system and see what's been done or what's not been done, and then they can help you better. So I just recommend the owner centre as your first point of contact for TripAdvisor. Okay, so I think that's my presentation finished. Now, I'm more than welcome or happy to answer questions. The only thing I'll say is, obviously it's going to be very hard for me to ask specific property questions because I haven't got the details, the facts, and obviously it's a wider conversation than that. So if anyone's got more general questions on TripAdvisor.
What is your proof positive that people have actually stayed at these properties?
We don't verify we don't do verification. No.
Like, say, wouldn't you like to adopt a system, say, like Booking.com or something like that?
The difference between them and us is they actually take the booking. We don't take any bookings. So it's a fine line.
So you don't actually have to have stayed at the property.
Well, no. There's also generally yes we do. We ask how many nights you stayed. The exception for that is things like weddings, because obviously a lot of properties have wedding business. And if you've attended a wedding, people still want people to review. So there is a sort of line there. But normally we ask how many nights have you stayed.
Another point is, why don't you take off reviews after a certain time? Places can get better, places can get worse. Why are they in perpetuity?
It's true. We do keep all reviews on for as long as they're written. It's a company standard, but
can alter.
No,
so
agreed.
Why is it set in stone?
It's the company policy. It is reviewed on a time-to-time basis, but it's a double-edged sword. For the people who've had bad reviews, they want them removed. People who've had good reviews want them to stay.
Things can change.
Yeah.
Prices can go down, so you're not reflecting.
Well,
what's
if the
happening
one
now.
thing we do take reviews off if there's an ownership change. So if you've just brought a property, you can let us know and prove it, and we'll take all historic reviews off. Because obviously that in that case a review has.
It's not accurate then, is it?
It's a summation, but obviously you've got to remember that the more recent reviews have more weight. People don't read. I mean, I don't know how many pages of reviews people read, but it's maybe only the first 2-3 pages, and the algorithm takes more recent reviews into account. But we've when we ask people to submit reviews, we don't want to have to contact at the moment. That's the company by the founder, and that's the way it is. And it's the way people read them is down to them.
One more point, and then I'll shut up. I know you didn't want to be specific, but I have been libelled on one I've been accused of bribing the tourist board. I have tried and tried with TripAdvisor to get this off, and they say it comes within their guidelines. I'll speak to you afterwards.
I'll give you, yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's there writ large. And if that's not libel, I don't know what is.
Well, there is. Just to also say, the one thing here is we've just to show that we are taking things more seriously. Well, we always took it seriously, but we're putting more weight behind it. We've just appointed a director of customer service. He's just been with the company 1 month now, or maybe it's 2 now. So he's obviously he's a global, and he's building the team up of customer services. So he's looking at all our processes, how we do things. So I think TripAdvisor's not been perfect to date. We have been hard to get hold of. Our owner centre isn't exactly the most user-friendly thing. We're redesigning the owner centre, and it's actually going to be called the management centre just to make it a bit more. But we're redesigning it. We're putting more tools in it. But also we have introduced this director of customer service to look at the overall of how we respond and all the templates and everything we use. So things won't change overnight, of course, but they will change. But yeah.
Hi. You mentioned quite rightly that when we get a bad review, if you're owner of a guest house, it hurts. We have a lot of good reviews on there, and we've had a couple of reviews on there from somebody who stayed one night, not even been in the house 24 hours, slagged us off. And we've had reviews on there that people hadn't actually even stayed. One of those was a diplomat from the Bahamas High Commission. He refused to remove it. What I'd like to invite you to do is come and work at my house for a weekend. Here's my card.
Well, I have worked in hotels.
So sure, I haven't worked in one. You come and have a weekend. We'll arrange a date afterwards and see just how much.
I respect what you do. There's no denying that. And having been in hotels, I know you're there 24 hours, 7 days a week. I do understand that.
But the thing is, the other thing side of it, my wife and I are Christians. Why is it that we've had our Christian faith put under real scrutiny? To my mind, that's a hate crime.
Well, that would be something I mean, obviously I can't get into specifics because I don't know the case, but I'm quite happy to take your details and
have an invitation.
Yeah.
Come stay for a weekend.
And have you reported it through the owner centre?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll pick it up with our customer service team when I get back.
Thank you very much.
Hi. I think actually you've displayed a lot of my fears about TripAdvisor, but very briefly, if I can be greedy, I have 2 questions. One, what is the cost of signing up? And secondly, do you think you would ever develop your holiday cottage letting reviews? Because in this particular area, there are a massive number of holiday cottages, and I think it would be a real asset to travellers and to your business.
Okay, so they're very separate questions. So the first question first, it depends on your property size, because for a 2 to 5, because obviously there's no one-room property, a 2 to 5, it's £25 a month, or it works 20% cheaper to buy annually, and then it scales up from there, so it depends on your property size. On holiday rentals, it is something we're actually looking at. TripAdvisor owns 2 companies, Flipkey and Holiday Lettings in the UK. So we are actually reviewing the whole of the holiday lettings property service we give, but through those properties you get the information fed into TripAdvisor, so they do feeds in, but it's not brilliant yet, and it's something that we know that especially there's a huge number of holiday lettings. But the thing is, at the moment, the TripAdvisor site doesn't really work for them brilliantly because of the ratings we use, like cleanliness and housekeeping and all those sort of things, don't really apply to holiday rental type properties. Well, I think they needed to be worded differently to get, yeah. So I'm sure that,
I think they're even just as
oh,
important.
I mean, I think it's, yeah,
Somewhere a week.
but it's more, it's not housekeeping, it's cleanliness. It's just that subtle differences. So I think that's something we are developing and probably more to come.
Great. Thank you.
I think you probably answered the question I was going to ask, and that is the business. That was the business listing price you were
Yeah,
given.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that was what I was going
Yeah.
to ask.
So if you go on the website, there's a link you can click and it will show you the full rate card. But I've got so many figures in my head, I don't really want to quote the wrong one to you now.
Thank you.
Just something following on from what you said about holiday cottages. We have a business that's an agent that represents 80 holiday cottages of varying standards and varying prices, and people's expectations to those, coming to those cottages obviously vary greatly, and a review that applies to one cottage may not apply to all 80 across the board. But it doesn't make it clear to the readers of TripAdvisor that TripAdvisor doesn't work well for holiday cottages. You, by your own admission, say that, but the public...
Well, what we're doing now is we're taking the feeds in from Flipkey and Holiday Lettings, which do our specific holiday cottage, and we have a vacation in different sites. It's called different things, but vacation rental tab, and that's now populated by our sister sites.
So again, in the UK, vacation rental doesn't actually ring a lot of bells to people. They're looking for holiday cottages.
Yeah, we look at
vacation rental.
I can't
Sounds
remember if it is.
American.
Yeah, I can't remember if it is called holiday. I can probably flip back through and see
But
what it's
then,
called.
going on from that, if you go look at Flipkey, the costs involved to sign up as a business are very, very expensive when you're talking about putting that across 80 properties. We're into hundreds and hundreds of pounds to sign up, also requiring complete live availability.
Yeah, I'm not
And that
yeah.
becomes a mega problem where we're trying to run live availability on our own websites, live availability on your websites, live availability on DMS websites, to offer the customer the best possible service that we can accurately show our availability and price. And for us as a business, we would love to sign up to that business listing. We would love to put our special offers up there. We'd love to make it easy for customers to review our properties. But because of the diversity of the properties we've got and the costs involved, that's very, very difficult for us currently.
Yeah. Have you talked to Holiday Lettings? That's our other sister company, because
not
they're UK specific. They might be better for you to talk to Flipkey. But it's something, there's a whole team of people looking at this, but obviously I'm not involved in it. So things will change, but I can't tell you when and how.
Could I ask the phone numbers? Will there be an operative there who will be able to look at our site, our listing, and help us advisors to improve our
Yeah, absolutely.
profile?
That's part of what they're there to do.
Karen, can I ask first from the table, if I may?
Sorry, I didn't see you with your hand up.
That's okay, no. Since you as a site are now taking money from us for specific features, which is fair enough, should part and parcel of that, as we're now customers, shouldn't we now have a voice in some media, some forum, for feeding back to you ideas?
We do have a hoteliers forum. It's only available in English, but obviously that's relevant for this room. I think you have to go to the .com site. I'm pretty sure, I can't remember if it, but there is a hoteliers users a business forum. So, and that's monitored 24 hours, and that you can get backwards and forwards. Yeah, well, you can put questions up, other hoteliers, and also we have somebody who moderates and answers questions as well. So I know that is looked at, because I get emails sort of saying this is what people are saying at the moment type thing. So I can probably send you the link, or I can send you the link to distribute to anyone else in the room. That if I sort of write a list of what everyone wants, we can sort of send a list of sort of things that people might be interested in looking at afterwards.
Okay, perhaps can I show up a quick one, which a guest actually today mentioned to me, last night, that on the when they're putting in a guest review, there's a little thumbs up that says, I liked this review, it was relevant, it was helpful.
Yeah.
Okay. Could you have a one that says thumbs down, which they can put against reviews they didn't agree with?
Sort of an arrow up and an arrow down approach.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, I don't look at the core site, but I can certainly ask that question. Because I think that's when you read a lot of newspaper type stuff, isn't
It was a situation
it?
where a customer had read, and we're in a situation like most people where we've got plenty of good reviews and one very bad one. So bad that it's out of kilter. And the guest had said to me, it would have been nice if I clicked a button to say, No, actually, this
I didn't agree with
wasn't
that.
helpful. Yeah.
Yeah, but whereas we often get the good reviews countermanding it, saying, you know, forget those ones, I had a great
Sure.
time. So, but I can certainly bring that up with the product team and put it forward. But
Yeah, find it back up.
I probably talked to all of our guests before they leave and asked how they heard about us, and there's no doubt that TripAdvisor is 8 out of 10 people, so it's huge. But what a lot of people now tend to say to me is they sort of, so yeah, we can read between the real reviews and the false reviews. And I just get the feeling that there's a sort of, you know, I think it must be a topic that must be discussed on the board of TripAdvisor is, you know, how do you police this? And it's obviously a passionate subject on both sides of the fence. Is there a sort of move by TripAdvisor to maybe move down
well, I mean,
maybe not you policing it, but anonymity, for example. I mean, if we knew the names, we can tell immediately whether someone's stayed or not by checking our own records.
yeah, I mean, everyone at the moment. I mean, as I said, we take the veracity of our reviews incredibly seriously, because if people didn't want to come to TripAdvisor to read the reviews, we wouldn't have a business. And we do have a fraud team that look after these things, and it is something that as anyone can report a review. It's one of those things that it's so hard because, you know, people think it's a false review, but it you know, what makes you think it's a false review or a positive review? Obviously, behind the scenes, we look at all sorts of things about, you know, we know when things have sort of been scammed on a regular basis and things like that through our fraud team. I have no feeling for numbers or, you know, because it's just one of those. But it's something we do check and we do take seriously.
Because I don't think all of them are false.
Yeah, I think it's
not true.
I mean, I don't want to say it's an urban myth, but I'm not saying there aren't false. You know, who knows? But
I think that it's the problem if people are perceiving that there might be.
because they're too good to be true.
For-
Yeah.
Exactly. And that
But-
actually doesn't work in our benefit.
No, but I think you've got to remember how people read the reviews. Like I was saying, that if there's 20, there's one brilliant one and one rubbish one, and there's 18 in the middle all saying the same thing. People believe the 18 that are saying the same thing. So if there's a constant flow of the same message through reviews, that's what people latch onto and believe. They don't read every review, I think we know that, or they certainly only read the first couple of pages. But I think there's definitely the sort of that discarding of things. So I think it's good. You've got to take it in that sort of context too. But it's something yeah.
They go straight for the bad ones and try and find a connection between them, and then they know there's a real problem there rather than just someone having a go. Which
Yeah, and then
I think is fair enough.
And then use the management response.
Yeah. No, that's not a problem at all. It just seems that via the hotel, the expense for you of trying to police it would be huge. I can understand.
Well,
that.
we do have a fairly large team actually looking at all the reviews. Yeah. But with 23 pieces of information every minute.
It's not
Yeah.
possible.
But we do have lots of systems in place.
Hi there. I sell adventure activities, and that's something that I'm finding that TripAdvisor is lacking at the moment.
Yeah.
If you try and put something in, they either try and bang you into attractions or into
Yeah, you're
tourist
sitting sort of
information.
between a couple of camps there, aren't you?
Yeah, is there...
There's plans.
There's plans. Brilliant.
Don't know when or where, but there is plans.
Cool.
Probably later this year.
Wonderful, thank you.
Any more questions? Anyway, Alistair. Just one question. TripAdvisor is an American company. Does it have a UK offshoot? I.e., if I pay you money, does it come into this country or does it all go back to America?
At the moment, we're a US registered company, but I think that's going to change. And obviously, I think you all know the news that we're going to be floated, so who knows what that's going to mean. But at the moment, our bank is in America.
My reason for this is most
Which means we don't, at the moment, we don't charge VAT.
Yeah.
Which there's an advantage to it at the moment.
Yeah, but none of the money that we're paying in this country in tourism is going to this country. It's all going to America and it's all going abroad because all these companies like yourself, you're all owned by foreign countries, by another. Yeah. So if you could say to me, you know, advertise with us, spend money with us, and we had some knowledge that at least some of that was going to come back
they're
in.
paying me.
Fair enough. Yeah, no,
And we got 100 people employed in the UK, so we're creating employment and we've rented space and things. So
that's a start.
it's not quite the answer you want. But I'm not saying who knows at the moment with the changes afoot with TripAdvisor where our head office, you know, who buys us and where we end up.
Any more questions, anybody?
Well, Karen, that was absolutely fascinating.
Thank you.
I think everybody here learnt a lot, and it's valuable for our business, and this is what we at the Lakes Hospitality Association are for, to spread good information to our members. I thought it was very wise indeed of you to bring your own fruit to throw back.
Oh, that was me. I don't know where that came from.
Sorry.